Peter Greenberg's Global Travel Update is presented by New Mexico True.
Hi there, everybody. Peter Greenberg here. Happy last Friday of the month of August, 2026, and so much to talk about here. We're coming to you today from Fire Island, New York, where, as many of you know, I'm also on duty as a firefighter. And as long as the alarm doesn't go off, you get me for the next 45 minutes. But first and foremost, let's talk about what's in the news. And so much of it right now involves loss and remembrance. I keep watching these videos. I'm going to show you one in a second. And every time I see this video or these videos, I'm trying to convince myself it's AI generated because it looks like it was completely done as CGI in a movie. I'm sad to report that this time it's real. And those are the devastating floodwaters literally rampaging through Nepal. Take a look at this. That was the nicest of the videos. There's another one, unbelievable, of the border, an immigration facility on the border between China and Nepal, as the water came through at such devastating force and speed. I mean, entire buildings were literally obliterated. Over 1,300 people missing. Right now, the death toll is above 600 and expected to rise. Many of them visitors and tourists and Americans as well. Just a terrible, terrible story there. And we'll be staying on top of that in the days and weeks ahead. In the last couple of years, Nepal, with earthquakes and now with this devastating flood, doesn't seem to be able to catch a break. Our hearts and our thoughts go out to all of them as the rescue efforts continue. In the interest of full disclosure, I'm also on the board of Operation USA. This is an amazing charity started over 40 years ago by Julie Andrews, and their sole purpose is to basically rush aid to areas of devastation and natural disasters, whether it's an earthquake in Venezuela, one in Cambodia, one in Colombia, and now, of course, what's going on in Nepal. Please go to their website, opusa.org. Give what you can. Of course, there's also the International Red Cross. They're already on the ground. That video, I still hope it was AI, and I'm sorry to say it wasn't. I also mentioned loss and remembrance, and this is the week we lost. Doesn't seem like a travel story, but it very much is a travel story. Dolly Parton. Her travels, her legacy, her trajectory is unmatched. Unmatched. And it is one that will continue to tell a tale, because so much of what Dolly did was never reported, never publicized. She had a generosity of spirit that was literally unmatched. I know this for a fact because I actually did a television special with Dolly called Take Me Home, where she literally took me home. And we're back to East Tennessee and to her roots in Sevierville and the remarkable story that transpired from there. She was unbelievably self-effacing and honest. Her genuineness was not contrived or manufactured. And I was reminded about that when I looked at the special that we did again. We're making it available to anybody who wants to see it. Go to our website, petergreenberg.com. You can link to it there. It's also on Instagram. And I hope you get a chance to see it, because her story is truly remarkable. And she was a unifier and a uniter in a world in which we're all siloed and there are blue states and red states. She's the exception. I don't know anybody on any side of the fence who has a bad thing to say about her. You know why? Because you can't. And I hope you get a chance to watch that special. It'll be a reminder to you and to me and to all of us of what we can be. What we can be. We're not there yet. She was there. Let's hope we can get there as well. Anyway, I hope you get a chance to see that. Moving along to more specific travel stories. This is also a week where we're confronted with the upcoming midterm elections, the Iran war, a challenged economy, high fuel prices, and a softness in the travel market as people begin to step back. We're seeing airfares starting in October, domestic airfares dropping to an average of about $226. That's a far cry of where they were this summer. European fares down to about $801 on average. That's a far cry of where they were this summer. And if you're flying business class and you can wait till October, you'll see business class fares drop as much as $2,500 a ticket. So if you're traveling business class with somebody else, you can wait till October, you just saved about $5,000. Now, having said that, this is also the week where we notice something else. American, United, and Delta are not just doubling down, they're tripling down on what they believe is going to be a huge rebounding in travel in 2027, regardless of what happens in the midterm or the economy or the war. American Airlines announcing 5 or 6 new routes, international, out of Philadelphia and Charlotte. Delta, nonstop flights from Austin, Texas to Paris and to Asia to compete with Alaska Airlines on the West Coast. And then the big daddy of them all, about 3 days ago, United Airlines announced 10 new international routes, and at the same day, on the same time for 2027, going everywhere from Luxembourg to Portugal to Toulouse in France to Sicily to Slovenia, even to Okinawa in Japan. And what all the airlines are doing as they're doing this announcement is they're counting on something else, that all these flights now, they're nonstops, which means you don't necessarily have to change planes in the US or in London or Paris. Makes it a lot easier. And they think that the demand for premium product will be huge. So they're reconfiguring the planes. Some of these planes will have 44 first-class seats. And the new Delta Airlines Airbus 350s, half the seats on that plane will all be premium. So, and the price tag will come to match that. So what does that mean for the back of the bus? Fewer coach seats and more scrunched coach seats. Basic law of supply and demand kicks in. Doesn't mean those fares are going down. That means even the coach fares are probably going to go up. So be aware of that. But look at what's going on now for the rest of this year. You'll see pop-up sales on international and domestic routes. They'll be up for about 36 hours. It won't be on every seat, on every flight, but jump on those tickets because they're not going to get better. And starting in January and February, as these new routes kick in, get ready for higher fares. That's what these airlines are hoping to do. Here's a fun story I want to share with you. Anytime I mention the words toilet paper and airplanes, you think it's going to be a really dirty story, a messy story, an ugly story. Well, this one isn't. There was a couple that was flying to Las Vegas on Southwest. They were going to elope. The flight crew found out about it before they knew it. Well, you'll see the toilet paper, and the captain married them in the air. Check this out.
We have decided that we are going to hold a ceremony here on our flight at 35,000 feet. 178 witnesses. We have all eyes on the bride, and let me just have your attention for about 10 minutes.
First of all, Captain, is flying the aircraft. I'm working the radios. I've been a minister for over 30 years, and hundreds of weddings. I've never done quite one like this before. Thank you, Sarah. Thank you, Sarah. From this day forward, as long as we both shall live.
I, Sarah, take you left.
From this day forward,
Stay forward.
amen.
Amen.
Congratulations to the new couple.
And all the Biscoff cookies they can eat. Congratulations to the newlyweds and to the captain who came out of the cockpit to perform those ministerial duties. Love that. All right, let's scroll down and say hello to some friends. Patrick wants to know my thoughts on the LaGuardia control tower reports. What Patrick's referring to was the incident that happened on the ground at LaGuardia, where the plane that was landing at night smashed into the fire truck, killing both pilots, and what was going on in the tower. As it's come out to be known, there are two air traffic controllers who left early that night. Whoops. And not enough staffing in the tower when they had a so-called emergency on the other end of the runway that they were attending to, and the radio frequencies weren't aligned, and the fire truck didn't get the call to get off the runway before that plane landed. We all know what happened. A devastating incident at LaGuardia. The FAA is attempting to fire those controllers, but the situation goes deeper than that, because it just comes right back to the forefront again that of 313 air traffic control facilities in America, 311 remain still understaffed. And we saw that happen at Reagan, with the American Airlines plane collided with the military Black Hawk back in 2025 in January. We saw it in another way at LaGuardia not that long ago. The staffing situation is still critical. And even though the FAA has announced that they've hired 2,000 new recruits, many of them gamers, by the way, not a bad idea when you think about it. What people forget is it's a 2.5-year learning curve before they'll ever allow any of those air traffic controllers to sit at a console by themselves and control the airspace. Of the 2,000, the average wipeout rate is about 40%, so we're down to 1,600 when they need about 7,000. So is it a good start? Yes. Is it going to solve the problem? Not really. We need to hire more. But I'll be staying on top of that story, as you can imagine, in the days and weeks ahead. All right. Linda's saying, hi from Naples. This seems like the longest time you've been in one place. Are you on vacation from traveling? No, I'm actually on duty. I'm on duty 3 days a week, 7 months a year. Hard to believe, as a volunteer firefighter out here on Fire Island. So I'm on duty through this Sunday. Then I'm back again Thursday night, and I'm on duty through the following Tuesday. And that'll continue when I'm not on an airplane through November. So that's why I'm here, and happy to be here. I've been a fireman since I'm 18. And what many people don't realize, but they should, 74% of all firefighters in America are volunteer. And if you're able, willing, and interested, let me know. No matter where you're living, there's a volunteer fire department that can use your help. All right. Our good friend Charlie is saying hello from Baton Rouge. Charlie, I still want to give you another call. I have updates to give you, so stay tuned on that. Mary Louise is saying hello from Tempe. Paul is saying greetings from Ashland, Virginia. Linda is saying hi from Hillsboro, Oregon. Sue is, of course, in Bellingham, as she always is. Let's see. Sydney, I think, is hello from Thailand. Sawadee ka. Robin saying happy Friday, goodbye summer. No. Robin, summer is not over until I say it's over. Okay? Labor Day doesn't end anything for summer for me, and it shouldn't for you either. But I appreciate the thought. Melanie saying happy Friday from steamy Miami. Yeah, Miami in August. Who knew? Jeff is saying hello from Palm Desert. Yep, it's hot. Sandra's saying we've been to the beautiful country of Nepal, praying for all those affected, as we should. Just devastating. And as the stories will emerge about how that wall of water started, I'm sad to report they knew it was going to happen. They just didn't know when, and they didn't move fast enough to fix the problem. Remember, in any disaster, there are catalytic reasons, right? Immediate reasons that trigger the actual event, and then there are the underlying reasons. We as a society have never done a good job of dealing with the underlying reasons, because by the time the catalytic reasons happen, it's too late. Yep, I agree with you, Mike. R.I.P. Dolly. And by the way, we've posted the YouTube video that you can watch of our special called Take Me Home. I hope we get a chance to see it. Tammy is saying, good morning from San Diego. Yes, lost my mom the 14th, so sad. Dolly Parton. So glad you got to spend time with her. Yep, I agree. And my thoughts exactly. We have someone checking in from Myanmar. There we go. Yvette is saying, hi from Las Vegas, New Mexico. Joy is saying, do you need a real ID to travel from New Jersey to Florida? Well, if you're going by air, you do. Now, if you have a passport, that also qualifies as your real ID. Most people, about 94% now, who have a driver's license in this country who fly, have already converted it to a real ID through their Department of Motor Vehicles. But if you have a global entry card or a valid U.S. passport, that also qualifies as a real ID. Colleen is saying, thank you for your kind tribute to Dolly. Well, thank you so much, Colleen. I appreciate those words. Scott saying hello from Chicago. Chicago had yet another blown tire incident. Yeah, you're talking about the DHL plane, the 737 plane that landed the other night. We have video of that. I mean, not to share with you, but there is video available of that. The pilots knew exactly what happened when it happened. It wasn't the blown tire that caused the problem. Their brakes froze. They locked, and that created then the blown tire. Okay? Completely unrelated to the other incidents. And the fire and rescue operations saw it immediately. Other pilots called it in, and they had the equipment and the trucks on the scene right away, and there was no resulting fire, thank goodness. All right. Okay. Why am I not able to see cruises in November to March? That's a question I don't understand. Cruises are 24/7, 7 days a week, 365 a year. Where are you looking to find cruises? What sites are you using? Or what companies are you checking out? At any given time, there are ships moving in the water somewhere in the world that are cruise ships that are taking passengers. So I don't know why you can't see them between November and March. They're there. Okay. Daniel says, flying has become so much fun as sailing and steerage. Well, you know what? I actually think steerage might have been better. You know why? Because you got to party with everybody else. Yes, we are. I don't want to paint with a broad brush, but I would say my general experience these days is that the airlines look at us as self-loading human cargo. I'll leave it at that. Patty's saying, if I'm flying to Lisbon and home from Barcelona in December, should I wait until October to buy plane tickets? No, do it now. You'll see they're relatively low fares. However, you're mentioning in December, if it's before December 15th, then you'll be okay. Remember, after December 15th, a lot of air traffic because of the holidays. Again, Google Flights has this feature. Some other websites do too, where they'll track your airfare once it's booked. And if it goes down significantly, you can play the arbitrage game and cancel that flight, get a credit, then apply that credit at the lower fare against the exact same flight and get a residual credit for another flight. So no reason why you wouldn't buy the tickets now. Joy's saying, when did you say pop-up flight sales will be in effect? Well, they're going to start any day now. We just saw one last week from Southwest, 40% off their base fares with flights good through March of 27, but you had to book by, let's say, August 18th. It'll come back again. Just look for it. Robin wants to know my opinion on the blown tires. I just gave it to you. Colleen says, what's the story? I forget. You can see my bookcase back here behind the Poor Peter sign on your bookcase. Okay. Actually, it doesn't say Poor Peter. It's in French. It says Pauvre Pierre. I'll tell you the story. I've been on Fire Island since I'm 6 months old. I love boats. And a lot of parents were buying their kids boats. My parents were not allowed to buy me a boat. They wouldn't let that happen. It was a big item in my family, a big topic of conversation. It was a red flag, actually. And finally, on my 13th birthday, my father said to me, if you want a boat, you're going to have to earn every dollar of it yourself, and you're going to have to become a Coast Guard captain. Well, the summer of my 13th year, I held down out here 6 different jobs. And when the summer was over, I had enough money for the boat. But then I went to Hunter College at night. I was 13 and I became a Coast Guard captain. So in January of my 14th year, I bought the boat. And my mother decided she wanted to name the boat Poor Peter. Not the kind of word I wanted on my boat. But I have an interesting story to tell you. I still have that boat. That'll tell you everything. But now you understand the words behind me. Sandra wants to know thoughts on travel to China regarding their firewall. Could AT&T International calling plant bypass? Well, look, China's had a firewall on the internet for a long time. The only way around that maybe is a VPN. A number of hotels might be able to help you with that as well. If they're Western branded, they have workarounds. But your normal Facebooks and other chatting lines are not going to work there. It's just the way they control the population. And in other countries, when the what hits the fan, the first thing they do is they shut down the internet. That happened in Egypt during the Arab Spring. It's happening right now in Iran. But get the VPN. That will help you. Kim says, we are in Sardinia now, and we just got back from Corsica. All amazing. Couldn't agree more. By the way, Sardinia and Corsica, part of some of the new routes just announced this week by the airlines. Nonstop service. Adrian's in Huntington Beach, Surf City. We love that. Doris is saying, bonjour from Paris. And you too. Michelle is saying, greetings from New York. Sue's saying, the Dolly Parton video is awesome. Well, thank you for that. I'm glad you had a chance to watch it. Andy's saying hello from Springfield. There we go. The Lincoln Presidential Library. Camilla's saying cheers from Tucson, as she always does. Michael's saying hello from Lima, but currently on our honeymoon in Venice. All right. Venice in August. You're a brave man, but I hope you're having a great time with your wife. Michelle is saying, sounds like you had good parents. I had great parents. Don't let me get emotional. I had great parents. My mother taught me from an early age. And of course, when mothers tell you things, you don't think they're right. And then you make the discovery in your later years that mothers are always right. She taught me from a very early age that it's more important to be interested than interesting. And I guess that got me into journalism because I never stopped being curious. Mark is saying, hi again from Bay Harbor Islands, Florida. We're thinking of driving through northern Italy and Switzerland in September 2027. We don't speak or read Italian. Am I crazy? No, you're not. No, you're not. Although I have to tell you, the good news is you're going in September of 27. That's the magic month for weather. It's not that crowded. Although I have to give you the first rule of Italian driving. What's behind me is not important. So just drive slow. Don't drive at night. And by the way, you can get GPS with Google Translate, and you'll be fine. Okay? I just thought I'd let you know about that. Okay. A few more other things I want to share with you. And this just happened last week. We live in a society where everybody thinks that the definition of a great photo on their trip has to include them in it. Really? And where does it say in the manual you have to post it immediately? Anytime you post what you're doing and where you're doing it, you're telegraphing to the world what? You're not home. Attention all burglars. But in many cases, also, you're not paying attention to what you're posting. Like, for example, I forgot that Colleen could read my sign back there. I have nothing to hide, but there it is. But what if there is something I want to hide? We had a story of a guy who was so excited that he was going to fly first class that he went online and posted a picture of himself holding up his boarding pass. Look at me, I'm flying first class tomorrow. Right? He got his boarding pass the night before. Well, what was on that boarding pass? His name, of course, his 6-digit or 6-code confirmation number, his frequent flyer number. So some unscrupulous person surfing the web just went in there and canceled his flight. Terrible. We just had one that happened last week where a woman who got bumped from a flight was given a $1,000 denied boarding voucher. She was ecstatic. She went online and posed with the voucher. What was in the corner of the voucher? The confirmation code that activated the voucher. And before she knew it, 3 other people on the web used that confirmation code and booked their own flights that she paid for. She only ended up with $6 left in residual value on the voucher. Do yourselves a favor. I know we go back to the old days where your friends would come back on their vacation and have you over for dinner and then bore you with pictures from their slideshow. It's okay. Bore us when you get back. Don't post online when you're there. You don't need that instant gratification. You could get in trouble that way. That's just something I'd say. Now, something else that's going on. We've talked about this before. Some airlines considering charging to use the overhead bin. Well, as anybody knows, it's tough to find any empty bin space these days. But what's compounding the problem on a lot of long haul overseas flights? Bin theft. That's right. Overhead bin theft. Meaning it's a long flight. You put all your stuff overhead in the bin. You're sitting there, you're sleeping. Cabin's darkened. Flight attendants are in the galley. There's no movement. It's dark in the cabin. And somebody's over the bin stealing your stuff, right? They don't steal your bag. They steal items from your bag. Credit cards, money, jewelry. So this is assuming you could even find space to put everything in the bin. So do what I do. Take all your valuables, put it in a small bag, and put it under the seat in front of you where your feet are going to be. And then take all your other stuff, if you can find space in the bin, and put it up there. Makes a big difference. Trust me. All right. Let's scroll through some more folks and say hello. The other thing I want to share with you is the radio show this week is coming from Las Vegas, from the annual Virtuoso Travel Week. I go there every year. Over 5,000 people attend every August in Vegas. Yes, it's hot. To talk about what's going on in the world of travel. The good, the bad, the ugly, where people are going, why people are going, and based on price, how they're getting there. So tune in. That's tomorrow, 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. Eastern time. And if you can't find anything in your local markets, you can always find us online. We stream it live at about 10:05 Eastern time. Just go to petergreenberg.com and it'll be right there for you to listen to. Let's go to the photo of the week. Got to do that. Do we love this photo or what? Donna Zeichfinger wrote in. She took this photo in the Tracy Arm Fjord. I've been there. Was taken on Virgin Voyages. She said, and by the way, look at that. I mean, you have everything there. The sun, the sea, the sky, the glacier. Perfect. Love the light. Donna, thanks for sending that in. And of course, if you think you've got a photo that qualifies as the photo of the week, you know what to do. Send it to photo contest at petergreenberg.com. And if we agree that it belongs up there, then guess what? It goes up there. So there you have it. Last but not least, we've talked about this before about will airlines ever come up with a truly enforceable no-fly list for disruptive, violent, and unruly passengers? And so far, the answer is no, because at the end of the day, they still want revenue. It may get you thrown off the flight, may even get you arrested, but you know what? You can still fly. Unless, of course, it's an act of terrorism that ratchets it up to another level. In any case, you can get thrown off for a lot of reasons. Offensive bodily odor. Who determines that? Very subjective. You can get thrown off for, guess what? Being overweight. You can get thrown off for unacceptable clothing. What defines that? Cleavage, a butt crack, or worse? Every flight's different. But again, before you get on a plane, look in the mirror and go, is this going to work? Right? Or you could repeat the words I always use later on when I see you on the flight. What were you thinking? So just a reminder, it's there. Now, I'm going to wave a red flag here. Listen to this. Most of us are using our credit cards to pay, or let's be honest, finance our travels at very high interest rates. Well, get ready for these numbers. Right now, today, the percentage of credit card balances that are 90 days or more delinquent, that means they're in default and subject to collections, In this country, more than 13%. That's scary. What does that mean? Many of us are already maxed out on our credit, and guess what? We can't pay for any more. In fact, the amount of unsecured credit is now more than 1.3 trillion. Want to hear that again? $1 trillion. So let's do the math. That means the average U.S. household is holding more than $11,500 in credit card debt at very high interest rates. So what does all this mean to you? Unless you pay your credit card bills in full every month, Houston, we got a problem. And the last quarter of this year, that may be another reason why travel is slowing down right now, because people literally cannot afford to pay it. Be careful. If you're going to go charge a flight, try to do it when you can actually pay for it in full. The minute you start revolving the credit, you'll never get ahead. The average credit card interest rate is 26%. That's unsustainable. If I loaned you money at 26%, I'd go to prison. But the banks are allowed to charge up to 30% interest on their credit cards. And a lot of them do just that, 29.99%. Oh my God, it's scary. It is scary. All right. Now, one last piece of information here, which may not come as a surprise, but we're talking about softness in travel. That means people are still traveling. They're doing it another way. When the going gets tough, we drive. The latest stats from Hertz, 60% of all fall travelers still plan to drive rather than fly. Millennials, 4 times more likely than baby boomers to use a rental car. And Gen Z, they're planning their car travel even further ahead, with 34% of them booking much earlier than in previous years. So on trips of under 500 miles, a lot of people are still traveling, but they're not going to fly. They can't afford it, or they can amortize their cost by turning their car into a clown car with as many people they can cram in to share the costs. So I hope you guys are going to have a great weekend. I want to thank Anthony for handling the boards. We'll see you on the radio tomorrow. And last but not least, please remember the people of Nepal. Give early and often. OpUSA.org is just one of the charities that I suggest that you look into, to do what you can, to give what you can. And of course, this is the moment that we also remember the amazing Dolly Parton. I hope you get a chance to see the show that we did, which will just serve as a reminder of all who she was and all who we can be if we really try. Thank you for watching, everybody, and we'll see you on the next one.